Welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis show, and let me share some of the messages that you have sent. Musa Batoa in Kumasi says that let's use Major Mohammed's murder. Okay, now Alex is telling us we should say killing to put an end to the barbaric and inhumane conducts. Mob action, never again. Oliver Bambai in Salga says it is a solemn prayer and expectation of all that the excruciating death of Major Maxwell Mahama should mark the beginning and an end to mob injustice, lawlessness, and impunity across the country. McDonald Bruce says that Kaba brought a new twist to the Major Mahama's death this week. I think the lieutenant in question should be questioned also by the police as to why Max was not briefed about the attempted lynching of the other 4 soldiers who had been there earlier. Spike in Ohio says that Max is gone. It's now time for justice. No stone should be left unturned to secure justice for Max. All right. Thank you very much for those messages that you sent in. Now, shall we deal with the bond issue that seems to be growing and never ending? One bond controversy. The NDC has gone to Shraj. The NDC has gone to the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission and also raised the matter in Parliament. And the Finance Minister was hauled before Parliament. And the Finance Minister again repeated that the NDC is just, ignorant, unfortunately, about the way the process is conducted and that there was nothing wrong about it. In fact, we're told also that the Council of State had attempted to intervene somewhat. Council of State has issued a statement denying categorically, completely, that it never did any such thing. We have information to the contrary, that the Council of State may not be completely putting out the truth as far as the matter is concerned. So let's begin on this note with Kweku. And you said last week that you wished to hold on with the discussion until you had heard the Finance Minister in Parliament. Well, the Finance Minister was in Parliament. Do you think that what he did was sufficient to put the matter to rest? Even if he does, Shraj is pending and the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission one is also pending.
Well, just for the records, what I said last week was that your producer had decided to drop the issue of the bond.
That's right.
From the list of topics that had
and
been
you felt
sent.
That was good.
And I asked him why, and he explained, and his explanation made sense to me.
Right.
That because the minister was due, or scheduled to appear in Parliament, we ought to wait and add that to the Shraj one and all that, which for me was a very logical thing to do. So that's what I did. The minister appeared in Parliament. Are we restricting ourselves to just that?
No.
What happened
No.
in Okay. We have the Shraj. I've seen the minister's response, as I indicated last week, very convincing. Indeed, a comprehensive annihilation of all the allegations made by the petitioner. I don't know if you've seen the minister's.
I've seen it. I've read it. I have it right here.
Solid presentation, factual, step by step. It demolishes the petitioner. But I would wish for one thing. I want the Shraj to initiate investigations. I want the matter to reach the level of panel hearing. It will be beautiful for this country if it gets to that stage. And I hope Shraj goes along that way, because that is when you have that give and take and all those things, you know. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, the latest we have is this thing that they've appointed a case manager. Those are preliminary initial things. It means really not much, but it's good. I want that process also to get to its logical conclusion, because that's where we will know that all this thing is just noise.
You say that will also end up ending embarrassment?
It will internationalize their incompetence, ineptitude, and ignorance, to embarrass them on the world scale. And I want that also to happen, to be honest with you. Then, of course, we've come to Parliament. Very interesting. I loved what happened in Parliament. The half-hour motion that was triggered. Good for our Parliament.
The first time.
Yes, I think so. Maybe, we're not sure.
The first time they triggered it, right?
Yes. It was good. And the fact that the majority side seconded it and appreciated, you know, the logic behind it and allowed this thing to happen.
Let's get a brief of what happened, and then we'll continue.
Okay.
The whole House, Mr. Speaker, must feel free to celebrate what has been achieved because it inures to the benefit of our nation. Mr. Speaker, because the future is usually uncertain, long-term bonds have higher interest rates than short-term bonds. This is the usual character in every stable economy. There is no support, Mr. Speaker, for the argument that there is financial loss simply because longer-dated instruments have higher interest rates. If this analysis holds, then how come in 2016, Mr. Speaker, when the 5-year bond was above 20%, and the 91-day bond of 16%, there was no hue and cry from our side about financial loss because we understood what was happening. What was good for John surely must be good for Nana. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy again to announce that the benefit from this bond issue continues to impact positively on our economy. In 2016, according to the medium-term debt strategy of the time, Ghana's average domestic interest rate was about 22.8%. Currently, the weighted average interest rate is about 20%. Mr. Speaker, a 3% savings in interest rates on about $30 billion worth of debt, or $120 million of debt, is an incredible savings of about 3 billion cedis. In other words, the costs of borrowing for Ghanaian consumers and businesses have gone down, and it is our expectation that this downward trend will continue, and that, by the grace of God, the negative noise that has followed the bond issues will not stem the easing of the cost of borrowing.
This is the Parliament of Ghana, the people's representative. He accounts for 2.5 billion plus 1.1, that's 3.6. Where is the rest? Minus 6, minus 9, 6. Where is the rest of the 6 billion? How he intends to use it, this Parliament deserves to know. It should come properly. The motion was utilization of proceeds. On utilization of proceeds, in paragraph 42 of his statement, all he says, to date, out of the total amount raised, 2.5 billion has been used to reprofile the debt. That's fine. 1.1 billion used to finance the budget. That's fine. So 2.5 plus 1.1. He is not the one to determine expenditure, subject to the control of the legislature. We are saying that the 6 billion, order. 6 billion, we deserve to know how he intends.
Right, so you hear the finance minister and also Haruna Idrisu, who is the minority leader. But let me say, Dennis is getting married this morning, and he's telling me that he wished that we had done the show earlier or postponed it to another time. And as he's being driven to the church for his marriage, he's tuned into the show. Look, you need deliverance, I tell you. Yes, Kaku.
Yes, so the minister appeared before Parliament. And please remind me subsequently, if you can give me a little chance to read excerpts of the Council of State minutes,
right,
that we couldn't do last week.
Right.
Yeah. I think the minister did a fantastic job before Parliament. He presented all the details. Of course, the minority are complaining about 2 or 3 outstanding matters. They are saying they didn't have a full list, full complement of the documentation. I hear them ask for something called an agreement. Yeah, incidentally, it's my brother who, there's nothing like that. Why should there be an agreement between the Ministry of Finance or Ghana government and the FT or any other investor? There's absolutely nothing like that. It doesn't happen. It's never happened. Since this book building process began 2015 August to now, there is absolutely nothing like what you call the agreement. Those things you want are in the issuance documents. The transaction announcement, the issuance calendar, the book, what is it? The price guidelines, issuance summary. Those things are there. That's the format of the book building process. So there's nothing like an agreement between Ghana government and FT or Ghana government and all the other participants. There's absolutely nothing like that. So it is asking a wrong question, and you will not get an answer for that because it doesn't exist. The minister's appendix, the attachments, have all these things: the insurance calendars, the insurance summary, the Bank of Ghana guidelines. All those things are there. I have a copy here. And I'm sure because he's a member of parliament, he definitely has a copy. But this is it. I've got something else here that I can't show to anybody, which is one of the things they are asking for. The list of participants and the holdings. Go through the law. There's a legal regime to how to get that. They say, oh, parliament is all supreme. Parliament can get everything. Parliament must apply the appropriate, the requisite legal regime if they so want those things. A minister of finance cannot come and stand before parliament and do that kind of disclosure anyhow. It has its own implications. But I can tell you, more than 40 investors took part in this particular bond transaction. I have the list here. That list is with the Central Securities Depository of the Ghana Stock Exchange. It's not something that is on Mars. It's here on Earth. And if you are so minded and you are so concerned, you can trigger processes to get that list. Otherwise, everything the minister gave, they were also talking about utilization.
Right.
That's it. I'm not sure we've chopped, quote unquote, the entire money. We're applying some here and there, here and there. He gave some figures. He says it's not up to the 2.25 billion. It might not be. Why should it be? If some of the proceeds are still sitting there and have not been applied. But you see, I've said something since this whole thing started. There's an element of shifting cultivation in this whole thing. They shift the goalposts. They move from here to there. They were on a fishing expedition. If you answer this question, another one comes. Willfully causing financial loss to the state. Suddenly comes in. Everybody who is followed this bond, domestic bond thing, knows what I'm saying is the correct thing. Listen, there is this point about Deputy Governor of Bank of Ghana saying at the Public Accounts Committee that it was a dollar-denominated transaction. It's not true. He didn't say that. When that happened, I sent an email to the Deputy Governor of Bank of Ghana to ask him to actually clarify. And he came back to me. He responded.
What did he say?
He said he had been misrepresented. In fact, even at the and I went for a draft of the proceedings of the Public Accounts Committee because I wanted to clarify, compare it with what the answer he was giving me. Okay? And when he answered those questions, he even asked that the best person to answer, his name was also mentioned yesterday, one Mr. Okaite, the head of banking. Listen to what Mr. Okaite said here. This is, as you would know, this is a CD-issued bond for which investors brought dollars to cover. The book runners will collect all of the dollar proceeds, and that is deposited in an account which is in the custody of the central bank. What the story that came out earlier was that this Bank of Ghana, the Deputy Governor of Bank of Ghana, had said this. This is what was brought out, and this is what I saw clarification from him. The Franklin Templeton Company deposited the amount into the dollar account of the Bank of Ghana in the United States. We didn't receive it in cedis, and it was paid in dollars. The bond is actually a loan to the Republic of Ghana. They quoted him, Dr. Johnson Isiama. That's what they attributed to him. So I sent him this one, and I asked him to clarify. And this was 27th April 2017. I deliberately decided to keep this, hold on this, as this matter unfolds. This is his answer. To me, the questioner wanted to understand how bond proceeds are usually received and treated in the Bank of Ghana accounts. So I explained that whenever government receives forex generally, it is credited to government's account with us. However, it is only when these amounts are surrendered, that's withdrawn in cedis, to us that we capture them among receipts and payments, which we report to Public Accounts Committee. He's talking here reporting, the formula. In the specific case of the FT transaction, the deal was handled jointly by a number of local financial institutions. In that case, the dealer institutions received the funds from FT, and then they used that to settle for the bond. I've checked with the book runners, sources close to them. So yes, these are foreign institutions. They don't use cedi there. So they definitely come with dollars here. They convert the dollars into cedis, which is given to them, and use the cedis to purchase the bonds. The company, because the money is big, 2 billion or so, no one single bank or institution can hold on to it. So they have this dedicated account with the central bank, and then they send it there. Look, Parliament can, because they can't invite the book runners to come on the floor of Parliament. But I suspect if they have the Finance Committee triggered to work, some of the representatives of these institutions, the book runners as well as the primary dealers, can appear before the committees and give them the information and education that they require.
Interesting.
What surprises me most is that there are top guys in the NDC on the side of the minority as well as in the party who know this business very well. They initiated it. They know how the domestic bond transaction works. And they know that one, there is nothing called an agreement. Two, they know that the insurance documents provide all those things for them. Bank of Ghana guidelines guide the transaction. They know it. So the question you ask is, why all this noise? Why? Why the pretense that something had gone amiss and that the same procedures that were adopted in 2015 to today had not been applied? Why?
Maybe you end briefly on the Council of State intervention, which came up last week too, and myself and my team, we've been able to also cross-check, particularly seeking information from the member of the Council of State who was supposed to be in the center of this, and the information is to the contrary, particularly regarding what was supposed to be done, whether or not, you know, there was some intention to sort of compromise the minority in the process, and whether or not there actually was a meeting or there was no meeting. Let's hear your side.
Well, it's unfortunate you will not be able to allow me to read this whole thing. It's 7 pages. Otherwise, it would have been the best.
That's supposed to be the minutes.
Yes.
Okay. This is signed minutes of the.
Of the Council of State.
Signed.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, do you care? Would you give me the chance to read it for people to get signed?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is
yeah, I've seen it.
Honorable Nana Otuo-Sribo II, Chairman of the Committee.
That's not the statement they issued. This is a record of
which I intercepted.
Yeah, but I was going to ask, isn't that supposed to be confidential and
security? Intercepted.
I'm a journalist.
You're right. Relevant means of procurement is relevant evidence is relevant. It's admissible. It's admissible. So it's admitted.
Yeah, go ahead.
Minutes of an impromptu, operative word, minutes of an impromptu meeting of Appointments and House Affairs Committee with a minority in Parliament, held in the Library Room 4 of the Council of State Secretariat on Monday, 29th May 2017.
So to begin with, this is contrary to the statement that was issued.
Let me read. When you finish, you get a drift. There's no need to mention those who were present and things. It will take too much time. Now, the Honorable Chairman of the Appointments and House Affairs Committee, Honorable Nana Otuo-Sribo II, called the meeting to order at 1 minute past 12. Honorable Mr. Kojo Ajini-Mboatin read the opening prayer, meeting with the minority caucus of the Parliament of Ghana. The Honorable Chairman welcomed the minority leader of Parliament, Honorable Aruna Idrusu, and his team to the meeting. After the courtesies, the Chairman recalled that sometime in the previous week, he was approached by the Greater Accra Regional Representative on the Council, Honorable Dr. Ni Kotejani, about the minority caucus in Parliament's intention to meet with the Council regarding their petition to the Security and Exchange Council, that is Commission, on the issuance of the $2.25 billion bond. The chairman reported that the request was unofficial and due to the degree of urgency expressed by Honorable Dr. Kote Ajani, a meeting was scheduled for Friday, 26 May 2017 at 2 p.m. at the council's offices. He further disclosed that on Friday, 26 May 2017, he received a call from Honorable Okujoto Ablakwa, Member of Parliament, that the scheduled meeting could not take place because the minority had not been able to assemble all their members for the meeting. Therefore, it was agreed that the meeting should be postponed to Monday, 30th May 2017 at 11 a.m. The chairman lamented that unfortunately, that morning, Monday, 29th May 2017, he saw a publication in the Informer allegedly claiming that the Council of State was begging the minority to withdraw the petition filed against the finance minister regarding the $2.5 billion bond issue. So get it. It means at the time the paper reported there had been no meeting.
Right.
He lamented that the publication was not only unfair and vicious to the council, but had also compromised the position of the council. It had therefore been decided that the council should not have any discussion with the minority on the issue. At no point in the discussion was the $2.25 billion mentioned by the council's chairman, who was the spokesperson. The responses by the minority. Haruna Idrisu. Responding to the above, the minority leader, Honorable Haruna Idrisu, revealed that the facts as narrated by the chairman was at complete variance with what had been presented to them earlier. He reported that he was traveling abroad when he had a missed call from a strange number, and just when he was about to return the call, he received a text message from the same number requesting to meet him. He therefore asked the sender to liaise with Honorable Okujoto Ablakwa or Honorable Kesel Forson. He intimated that they had been informed by their contact, in this case the Greater Accra Regional, that it was the Council of State who was eager to meet them and not the minority team requesting a meeting. He disclosed that the minority had no hand in the story nor sponsored it, that is the Informer story, and that they were very much embarrassed about the publication as well. He informed the meeting that if the minority felt strongly to engage the council on any matter, it would have been officially communicated to the council. He apologized to the council for the embarrassment and assured the council of sharing in their pain and pleaded that what had happened should not suffocate the good relationship being created between both parties. He subsequently endorsed the decision of the council not to begin any discussion on the bond issue. He, however, expressed their readiness to meet the council on any issue of national interest. The rest are comments by other members of the minority. I don't know if you want me to read because they are all virtually following the line pursued by, yes, let me see, there's one here, Leokran. He reported that on calling, Okujoto Ablakwa collaborated what the minority leader said and said that he was contacted by the minority leader to call a particular number because he, minority leader, was traveling abroad with Honorable Speaker of Parliament. He reported that on calling the number, he was informed by Honorable Dr. Jani on the other side of the line that the council was concerned about the ongoing debate about the issuance of the $2.25 billion bond. To reinforce his position, Dr. Kote Jani informed him, Ablakwa, that he was the vice chairman of the subcommittee of the council on the economy, which had already engaged the Minister of Finance on the issue. Therefore, this was a follow-up to the meeting with the minister. He disclosed that he was later informed that the chairman had agreed to a meeting on Friday. The same thing. One thing is clear. The council never at any point as a council asked for a meeting with the minority. They were under the impression from the contact that it was the minority who was seeking. Now Haruna Idrisu then comes in to say that no, we also were under the impression you were the one requesting for the meeting. The man in the center of this is the Council of State member for Greater Accra. Subsequent to this, something has happened at the level of the council. I think I'll hold my fire on that now.
What's that's happened at the level of the council that affects
Obviously, you must appear before the council to get before your colleagues to answer questions as to how all this confusion occurred, who had mandated you to initiate any meeting on whose behalf, and what impression did you give to the minority as if they were being asked?
From his side, he explains that.
I've spoken to him, though.
Yes, he explains that. He explains that he, had come into contact with, these investors who were concerned about the development.
It's personal matter.
Concerned about the development.
Yes.
And he thought about the impact as a business person himself.
Thank you, I understand.
He thought about the impact of what the minority was doing on the nation. That it might affect investors who are interested in coming to the country.
It's appreciated.
And because of that, and as a member of the council, he felt there was no crime in trying to initiate a process that will bring the minority before the council and to seek to get an understanding that will end the issue.
I agree with him.
So that is the concern he takes to the chairman, and the chairman agrees that they could meet with them. And in fact, instantly, the chairman speaks with the minority and agree that they can come for a meeting.
It's in the minutes I read.
Yes, and agree that they can come for a meeting.
Yeah.
And the minority demands that it should be formalized.
Yes.
That the chairman should formalize it by writing to invite them. And the chairman said this is the first, attempt, so we could meet. And then later on, if it's there's a requirement for that, we'll do that. So on his part, he feels that this was just an intervention, to assist. This is an elderly council to assist the process. So what is wrong with it?
By the newspaper publication,
right?
Which indeed, if you did your investigation, you realize was done by a highly placed executive of the NDC,
okay,
who was not even part of the meeting. And apparently, because of their own internal, everybody positioning himself for the power that the elections and things.
Right.
Some member of the NDC executive got the newspaper to do this story, but the report of the story was that they were begging.
Right.
The Council of State was begging the minority to withdraw.
Okay.
That clearly was not true.
Right. Well, and the minutes you have read actually has helped, because initially my thinking was that the Council of State's letter or release was absolutely untrue if it said that they never met with them, and that's what it has said. But that was before, right?
They hadn't met.
Before they had the meeting. Okay. So let's begin. You want to start it from the Council of State's intervention and go to the real issues?
Yeah, I think I'll start with the real issues.
Okay.
Listening to my big brother, I get very excited. In the first place, the minister came to Parliament to answer the specific question of the $2.25 billion. Which means that per all the procedures, you will be picking and walking us through the specifics of this particular transaction and not the generality of how bonds are issued. And that is what he came to do. He came to give us the generality of how bonds are issued. We know that because we've been issuing bonds already. But we wanted, in the case of this particular transaction, if you tell me that book runners normally send out emails announcing the transaction, you would be telling me this is the email that was sent out, okay? It was sent out at this time and to these participants, okay? Then everybody knows. So that is the specifics that we want. And not to tell us that they normally send out emails. But I want to first let us understand what the book running method is about. The book running method of issuing a bond, first, you must have a prospectus. The prospectus is basically the selling document. When you have a prospectus, then chances are that your prospectus eventually, more or less, becomes the agreement. Now, when you have a prospectus, there are two things you can do. First, if you already have ever issued a bond with similar features, I've issued a 10-year bond with similar features. For instance, a bond without call options and the rest. We normally would call that a plain vanilla. So you are issuing another plain vanilla for 10 years or for 5 years or for 15 years. You basically can just go and pick that prospectus. But not a photocopy of that prospectus. You pick that prospectus and amend as appropriate. So for instance, the other one would have been 2016. You amend to reflect 2017 and all of that. Those details are amended. What the minister brought to Parliament was a prospectus for the September 2016 bond, a photocopy. A photocopy. When they say you can use a similar prospectus, it is the height of incompetence to just go and photocopy that document and bring it. That is the first point. I wasn't interrupting when you were talking,
sorry.
So let me make
Forgive me, I'm sorry.
He says you guys are ignorant and you are angry.
That is why I'm
and
now,
you are describing him as getting into the height of incompetence.
Yes, listen to me. The second one is that when you are having a bond of a different feature, then that is a different bond altogether. And you must change and issue a new prospectus. In this case, you had a bond with a callable feature. When you have a callable feature, what it means is that you can call the bond, you can redeem the bond at a certain point in time. And when you are redeeming the bond, what it simply means, assuming interest rates come down, and I'm locked in at 19.75, interest rate come down to 10%, it is in your interest to call the bond. But when you call the bond and you give me my money, can I get a similar instrument of similar risk profile at 19.7 so that I can be restored to the same position over the next duration of the period? So I get a problem we call the reinvestment risk. And as a result of that, you must pay a premium to call the bond. Now, when you pay a premium to call the bond, technically, your effective interest rate will no longer be 19.75% because you are paying additional money in order to call the bond. So that gives you a different feature. So you must have a new prospectus. Then you go and pick a bond that is a plain vanilla as your prospectus for a callable bond. And you call us ignorant? I mean, that is better to swallow the pride and listen and learn. But let me come to the substantive matter. When you are building a book building approach, you open an order. Okay, we call it the order book. What the order book does is that you open a book where people who are making the orders, the primary dealers, are placing their bids. The bids that they place is what we call the orders. So somebody will say, I'm placing an order of 1 billion at 20% interest. I'm placing an order of 30 billion at 10%. So that is the order that you have. We call it the order book. So you are building the book. Now, at any point in time, the Ministry of Finance is interested in the status of the order book to make a very critical decision, whether to cut off at a certain point in time or to continue building the book. If my objective has been achieved, I can cut off. So if somebody tells you that it is all about book builders and the Ministry of Finance is not involved, again, that will be the height of irresponsibility because you have to be involved in order to achieve the objective of the government. You can't leave it to book runners. Now, this is the order book for the 15-year bond. The total orders received for the 15-year bond is 3.4 billion. Okay. The total orders received for the 7-year bond is here. The total order received 1.45 billion. When you add the two, you get how much? 4.9 billion Ghana cedis. That's the total order. How much did we issue? 9.7 billion. So there's a difference of 4.8 billion that didn't go through the book building. Okay? You call us incompetent and ignorant. How did you issue that which didn't go through the order book? And let me show you the issuance summary. The issuance summary now tells you what happened that day. At the close of the transaction, what we accepted. You see, sometimes there can be oversubscription. People order more, and you are not willing to take all. So you see, the date, the time that you close the order, the bid, is not the same as the time you issue your issuance summary. So when I tell you that you use 4 hours and close at 1 p.m., between 1 p.m. and 4 p.m., you are doing behind-the-scene allotments. There are some of the people who were interested in doing this bid at 20%. Now, in the course of the process, the book builders will send you an email, the Minister of Finance or his designated officer, that at this point, this is what we are getting, and this is how the market is going. The minister will tell you what my appetite for interest and the total amount I want is. It is at that point you issue your final pricing guidelines to the market. For the market to know that, look, my client cannot go beyond this range of interest rate. At that point, others who feel that it will meet their investment objective will pull out of the transaction. So you may not have everybody who places an order still staying on. Others will say, okay, then I will revise my bid in order to stay within the pricing guideline. So you cannot tell me that the Ministry of Finance abdicates its responsibility to ensure, so if the book builder now comes to tell you that I'm getting it for you at 35%, and your objective is that only 15% would have been best, you sit there and finally they give it to you at 30%, you must be getting involved. And this is the issuance summary. It confirms exactly what happened in the day. In the end, if you look at the 7-year bond, the 15-year bond, it tells you the total figures that shows that all the orders that were received that day were accepted. And this is the total accumulation of events on that day. It adds up to 4.9 billion. Mr. Minister, how did you issue the 4.8 difference to get the 9.7 billion? What that means is that he then engaged in what we call a tap arrangement, which is a sole sourcing. A sole sourcing, listen, I'll come to all of that. A sole sourcing of 4.8 billion to Franklin Templeton. Now let's ask the question. How much was the ministry looking for? If you add on the issuance calendar, it even granted that the second issuance calendar she's talking about holds. That's even granted that that holds. 7-year bond, you are looking for 1.1 billion. 15-year bond, you are looking for 4.2 billion. The total is how much? About 5.3 billion is what you are looking for. How on earth will you go to the market to look for 5.3 billion and end up with 9.7 billion for the people of Ghana? How on earth, if it is not motivated by an insider trading? No, let me tell you something. This transaction, contrary to the deception that it confirms confidence of the investor in the Ghanaian economy, shows the biggest flop in terms of undersubscription. Because if you raise 9.7 billion, but your other book only gave you 4.9, cedis. Okay, no, if you were raising 9.7 billion Ghana cedis, and your investors could only order 4.9, that is 50% undersubscription. Is that the way investors show confidence, by running away from a bond? And you go around eventually sole sourcing and bringing somebody to take a bond that in the first place was not even, the total amount was not even on the calendar. The calendar says we want only 5.3. How did you end up with 9.7 billion? Again, your order book says that the people who are interested in the bond is 4.9. How did you issue the additional 4.8 billion? You come to Parliament and you give us this. This is deception. This is half-truth. And this is the level that we are taking this government, this country for. Now, let's look at the very substantive matters. And we will know who is ignorant and who is not. It is better for people to swallow their pride, listen, learn, and speak the truth, and stop insulting. You can't, look, at the end of the day, even if we had accepted all that we accepted, 4.9 billion, the minister comes to tell us that 3 months, almost 3 months after taking that money, he has only spent 3.6 billion. So even if he had accepted the 4.9, he would have still been having 1.2 billion of money sitting in the account that can be used for liability management. So what was the rush for? What was the rush of issuing a calendar for the second quarter on the 30th, and on that same day you start processes for second quarter, in order to ensure that people don't respond to this bid? It is uncompetitive, people don't buy it, and then you give it to your friend. That is what happened. This was cooked purposely to benefit none other than Franklin Templeton. And again,
Focus on the points you have here
quickly
so that we can move on.
No, but these are the facts.
Okay.
These are the facts. And unless you can prove to me that how we went to the market to raise 5.3 billion and ended up with 9.7 billion. If you can convince me how we build a book of 4.9 billion and raise 9.7 billion, and somebody is saying that we are ignorant and we are internationalizing.
Your colleague is waiting patiently to respond
he's waiting,
to you.
But
I wanted you to finish your points.
Listen, international reserves. The question that Mr. Opata, head of financial markets of the central bank, answered was about settlement of the bond and not the denomination, the currency denomination of the bond. And he said that this amount of $2 billion was paid into Bank of Ghana's account in New York.
No true.
I have it. I have a tape.
Transcript.
I have a tape.
This is the transcript for the Hansard department.
Look,
the Hansard doesn't lie.
When we finish, I'll go into my car and give you a tape record, a visual tape record.
This is the record.
I took a visual tape recording yesterday from Hansard department, audiovisual department. You play it, you hear Opata, 25th, 26th. What I say? But let's even grant it.
So that this would have been manipulated.
He is talking about paper. I'm talking about visual. You see
this is a draft of the transcript.
Hansard is not electronic. This Hansard here is electronic. But it's an authoritative record.
That was a committee's work. You see, you are confusing the two things. Committee's work. You don't have Hansard capturing the individual committee's work. It is the report that comes to Parliament and debated.
Please
listen,
hold on there.
Listen, I'm saying that
I have public accounts committee.
Let me come.
Almost all their positions, they are bonded.
Listen to me, but it is not
by the Hansard department. No. This one,
me,
as I indicated, I went to my source at the Hansard department and got it.
Listen to me.
And it will soon be published.
Yesterday, I personally went with Aveji, the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee, to Hansard department. And what they gave to us was an audiovisual account, which you can see like you are seeing me and listening to him speak. I'll share that with you.
You share it.
You're suggesting then
that is what he said. Yes.
That this transcript has been manipulated.
I haven't said I haven't even seen it. He's reading something I haven't seen. I don't have a copy. I don't know the source.
Right.
He's telling me the source. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know whether there's even a seal of any Bank of Ghana on it. I don't know. He is telling me I haven't seen it.
Bank of Ghana document. I'm talking of this.
Parliament. So this Hansard. Is that what you are saying?
This is the draft.
How will I know that this is Hansard?
Oh.
Okay.
How will I know? There's nothing parliamentary about this.
Proceed and conclude here.
So let me talk about what I know. The issue of international reserves. Look, what are you saying? If $2 billion for a primary dealer that's like Barclays Bank, $2 billion for Barclays Bank. Stanbic Bank is their custodian and trustee, $2 billion. If they bring $2 billion to Stanbic Bank, and Stanbic Bank or Barclays Bank finds the CD equivalent to give to Bank of Ghana, how will the money sitting on the books of Barclays Bank become part of our international reserves?
How would that dollars were sent to Bank of Ghana?
So that is a settlement. So if you send dollars to Bank of Ghana, you are settling in dollars.
No.
You see, that is the point.
No. Okay.
So you are confirming that Bank of Ghana received dollars, but it is not for settlement. Why? Since when did Bank of Ghana begin to open private account for private companies? Is it a commercial bank? I'm looking at you. Is Bank of Ghana a commercial bank?
I'm only saying be careful, don't repeat something so that you can quickly finish up.
I'm coming. No, don't worry. I'm coming. List of participants. For goodness sake, the Minister of State is the one who is entrusted with the fiduciary responsibility to protect the public purse. And we, with an oversight responsibility over his work, is asking him to give us the list of participants, and you are saying we should go to the central depository. What are you saying?
You are telling him that he can do that without following the law. That's what you're saying.
Which law is that? Are you saying that the minister doesn't have the list? Look, even before the minister signs off and takes the money and issue the card, he would have the full set of documentation to review and be sure that nothing went wrong.
So
are you getting what I'm saying?
Suspicion. It is your suspicion.
It is not suspicion. We just want the document.
That he's hiding something.
He's hiding something.
Right. So why don't you proceed and procure them yourself quickly, so that you can expose what he's hiding?
Don't worry. We are moving step by step, isn't it? So don't worry. There are a series of actions that you will see coming forward. Look.
That's where they say this is deliberate, like you say.
No,
you
if he had come,
to serialize it and to prolong it such that even where there is no issue, it will continue on the minds of people and investors that there's a problem.
If he had come with a prospectus and not a photocopy of September 2016 prospectus, would I have been talking about it?
Okay.
That is what happened.
Okay. So finish your final point.
Let me finish. Listen, at the end of the day, this is the people of Ghana's money. How can you tell me I'm going to raise $2.25 billion, and I'm so much in a hurry that I must issue notice within 24 hours, and I must use 4 hours of bidding? In the end, what are you trying to achieve? How do you drive down interest rates? It's a competitive process.
Okay.
Even when he was raising 800 million Ghana cedis, how many months did he publish it? 2 months. Even with the 2 months ending in May, he still had to push it to June. Okay? Even the bidding for those 800 million Ghana cedis, he used 2 days. And yet 2.24 billion, 5 billion, you use only half a day. And a notice of only 24 hours.
Right, so let me all I'm trying to say is that... Finish up on your last point. And the question is, why should a man who is into business and feels genuinely that there can be such an intervention that will end all of this brouhaha to avoid the negative implications that this will bring to the country, offer and find an opportunity for you to meet with the Council of State only for you guys to leak it to the so-called rented press, and they publish it in such a way that puts the Council of State in bad light, and now that doesn't happen.
I don't know who is you guys, because we haven't leaked anything. So who are you guys?
That's the
let me tell you. Let me tell you something.
One of your group.
Only 2 days. Only 3 days ago. That's a day after the minister came to Parliament. I had a call on my phone, a missed call, and that morning I was on phone granting interviews throughout. So later in the afternoon, I called the number, and the young man picked. Then I said, I missed your call. That's why I'm calling back. Then he said, it was Dr. Ni Kotejani who had used his phone to call me. Right away, I got very worried. Why can't he use his phone to call me? And immediately I said to myself, if this man calls me, I'll tell him in his face. If he's not confident enough to call me on his phone, he should just not call me. What it then means is that whatever conversation we would have had, he would deny it in the end. I'll leave it there.
No, but what are these suspicions about?
So that maybe the MPs can help me. I'm a lay person. I know precious little about anything, maybe except law, even that I'm not sure that I know enough of it.
You know enough of it.
You say that he went to the market looking for 5.3. Was that it?
Yeah, 5.3.
And he got 9.7.
No. He got 4.9.
Yeah, but ultimately, he brought in 9.7.
We don't know where he got the rest of the
Good.
money.
So the issue is where he got the rest from.
No, but
for a lay person, if I went out there to look for 5.3 and I got 9.7, I'll feel good.
No.
So the issue that I understand would be how he got the extra.
And that's one.
No.
See, so that was a central question.
Let me make a point. Yes. Let me make a point. You see, you issue your calendar based on the financial implication of.
I know that.
The financial needs, and not what money is available in the world for you to take. Otherwise, we could have. If people came and gave us 5 billion or 10 billion, we would take it. What it means is that, as per your proper calculation of your financial obligation, you need 5.3. The excess, we are paying interest on them. Ghana is paying interest on the excess just to be sitting there. That's why I said, if you look at his cash flow requirement up to the point he came to Parliament, he had spent only 3.6 of this money. So even if he had accepted what was built in the book, he would have still been left with 1.2 billion.
So your problem is that what Ghana got
was more than what Ghana required.
You listen. What?
Yes,
What?
that's exactly
No,
what I'm
no, no, wait.
No, I'm a layperson.
I say, yeah, he's a layperson.
Yeah,
let me
so
give
I just want to
what
understand.
Ghana got from the due process was less than what Ghana wanted.
Good, I agree. So, I hear that, but
Yes.
ultimately, Ghana is claiming to have in its bank account 9.7 billion cedis. And the problem, as I understand it from you, is that that money is much more than we need. So it's a problem because it's sitting there, we are not using it, and we are paying interest. I mean, isn't that what you're saying?
Let me ask,
You could have taken it
no,
in.
let me just explain.
Yes,
Let me
you could have
yeah.
changed it and then not pay interest.
We are talking
on it coming in one bullet
right,
payment.
yeah.
So that's the problem.
Yes, because that is why you draw your program in order to borrow over a period of time for a purpose.
Okay.
Yeah, so
speculative.
you're agreeing with me,
Yeah.
right? That so they went for they said this was
But the fact that
more,
but the
and
fact
the problem is that the more you think it's just sitting there and interest is being
no,
paid,
and the fact that
and they are not using it.
that the additional money that was borrowed,
Yes, I'll deal
with the process can't be accounted
yeah, we'll
for.
deal with that.
Okay.
But just so you know, and also what I heard Kweku saying was that literally the people came in with the dollars, gave the dollars to the book runners.
Yes, 3 of them.
Yeah, 3 of them, who then issued cedis, which was then used to purchase the bonds.
Yes.
But those dollars ended up in Bank of Ghana.
How?
Because I heard Kweku, because the banks themselves took it to Bank of Ghana. I don't understand that process.
So no.
How do banks the way? Does it have to do with the primary requirement? Is there a requirement that they can't hold beyond a certain amount of dollars so that literally
That's Kweku's suggestion.
yes, that they had the dollars. Now, or is it that when the banks received the dollars, yes, yes. So when the bank got the dollars, the bank went and bought the cedis from Bank of Ghana and gave it to the people who then came to buy it. I just need to understand where the problem is. Because if the banks receive the monies, and monies belong to Stanchart, Stanbic, and the other, and they pay it into Bank of Ghana,
Very briefly, and then we'll go to Alex.
International reserves.
that's the point I'm making. There doesn't appear to be a problem.
No, there's a problem. The problem is this. The problem is this. We are told that as a result of the issuance of the bond, our international reserves went up by $2 billion. So money sitting in the books of a private entity, it cannot be part of Ghana's international reserves.
Very well. I hear you, but
cannot be.
questions.
Let's do this.
But it goes into the
Who
assessment.
said that?
Right,
Who said
let's
that?
do
You are
this.
just trying to find a way to
and let's
run around.
Let's do this. And
run
so,
around.
and so I can on the back of your expectation that Ace has 2 more questions.
Oh,
take
yes.
a break and get you to stay glued so that you don't move away.
You start questions.
And don't forget that central to their concern is what he mentions, what appears to have happened in the back room, and which is favoring a friend, conflict of interest. So we'll deal with that also. We are taking a quick break. We have about 30 minutes extra time to deal with this issue exhaustively. So I'm taking a break. When we return, we'll hear from Alex, and then, of course, Ace will finish his questions, and then we'll hear from Alex. And I wanted Ace to be the last to speak on this matter. We'll take a break quickly.